Things get just a little wild for Lori, Carrie, Coon, Jaclyn, Michelle Monaghan, and Kate, Leslie Bibb, in the latest episode of The White Lotus. After leaving the resort in Thailand and going out for a night of drinking and dancing at a club with a group of Russian guys, their dedicated wellness instructor, Valentin, Arna's feet are vicious, and accompanied by his two friends, Lori unexpectedly finds herself having a blast. She goes all out with the trio of Russians, at one point even taking her top off in a pool back at the hotel. There's notably a different energy to Lori after being the odd woman out throughout the season. It was important that she be uninhibited when dancing, Coon tells Variety. She's drunk, and that leads to inhibition, which informs her choices later on. Up until this point, the show has been slowly building steam and stewing in ambiguity, as viewers have waited to see how the storylines will eventually converge. But this episode is when everything begins to explode for The White Lotus, with the three women and separately partying siblings Saxon, Patrick Schwarzenegger, and Lachlan, Sam Nivola, going all out. Monaghan infused Jaclyn with a sense of complete abandon in her movement. She says, "She was really in her element. I had a spirit animal for Jaclyn, and she's a bit of a butterfly. She's very lively and colorful and likes to make a statement, but there's something about her that knows that life is short-lived." Coon recalls how The White Lotus creator Mike White was able to show each of the women how their character would dance on the spot, and was really tuned into how everybody would show up in the moment. "Often as women in this industry, you're just sitting around on a couch talking about a man," Coon says. "To be able to use our bodies in that way was really thrilling." Leslie does physical comedy, Michelle does action movies. All three of us recognize the lack of interest in the industry and how much fun it was to be fully expressed in that way. Kate, who in a previous episode revealed herself to be a church-going Trump voter, isn't quite feeling it this episode, though, and assumes the role of soberish caretaker. When Lori and Jaclyn invite the men back to the villa, Kate says, "I don't think that's a very good idea. It felt important to me that it came out of jealousy of these three guys when they came back," Bibb says. "You know, when everybody's at the max, she was like a mama bear with these two." While the ladies let loose in this episode, that doesn't mean their competitiveness from previous episodes doesn't find its way into their drunk interactions. When two of the Russian men talk about ballet training, Jaclyn singles Kate out as the only person who's not a trained dancer. After they all dance together, Valentin then singles Lori out as a sexy dancer over Jaclyn, a huge moment for her confidence. It's another one of those moments where you see two of the friends connecting about something that leaves the other one out, Coon says. There's no way Jaclyn doesn't take Lori being a sexy dancer personally. No one's talking about Jaclyn being sexy. Maybe we just take it for granted because she's a television star. Jaclyn's social capital as the famous person in the group, and the one paying for the whole trip, also comes into play within this dynamic. By comparison, Coon sees Lori as someone who doesn't want to admit the loss of her own economic and social power. Her marriage is falling apart. She's struggling with her teenage daughter. She didn't get a promotion at work, and to admit that to her friends, who are outwardly very successful, would be a huge blow to her ego, Coon says. Owning it and asking for support would actually be the healthiest path through this vacation, and none of the women choose it. They're reactive and dealing with these dynamics as they pop up from their point of view. This episode is full of memorable moments that were often improvised over the course of the two-night shoot, including the dancing scenes, and when the men argue with women at the club whom they obviously know well, who yell at them in Russian.